We had heard that Joe Biden was going to be holed up at Camp David yesterday with his family, and the initial reports were that they were going to discuss what's going on. Actually, they got together for a photo shoot with Vogue magazine. Annie Leibovitz, the infamous, very famous photographer, took their pictures. Apparently, and I was reading the New York Times this morning, they weren't going to talk at all about Joe's future because there were too many outsiders who could listen in. But the family itself is saying, you know what, Grandpa, go for it, because you're the only one who can beat Joe Biden and beat Donald Trump. And one of his staunchest allies who said, "Don't give up, Dad," is Hunter Biden.
Hunter Biden is now an advisor to the president. Of course, President Joe Biden has said that he's the smartest person that he knows. They're now blaming advisors. Politico had this headline: Biden's family privately criticizes top advisors and pushes for their ouster at Camp David meeting. It's very interesting. They went on to say the blame was cast widely on staffers, including Anita Dunn, the senior advisor who frequently has the president's ear, her husband, Bob Bauer, the president's attorney who played Trump in rehearsals at Camp David, and Ron Klain, the former chief of staff who ran point on the debate prep in previous cycle sessions. So they were back at Camp David, the place the president spent a week preparing with these 16 advisors. And Lawrence, they're now trying to blame the performance on them rather than maybe on the president in the way that he did.
How insane is this family? I mean, these are the people that essentially put the president on life support, that are scripting his every move. They're defending his son, his family's business dealing, everybody that wants to be ushered in and out of the White House, a crisis with his granddaughter, who he just started to claim after they were shamed into claiming him. Every single day, they're having to deal with something with this president and his standing with the world. And instead of getting some type of gratefulness for trying to let the president rest for 7 days and give him all these canned lines, they're blamed, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. They're going to blame people that have been with him for 25 years, whether you like it or not. Anita Dunn, whether you like it or not, Ron Klain. These are the people that drilled him, and James Clyburn said, hey, he was over-prepared. Really? He was over-prepared? I think the other story is he had an emergency call with donors yesterday, not him, but his people, to assure them that he's not going anywhere, your money's good, Joe's still going to win. And according to Joe Zalazar, one of the people on that call, they didn't really feel assured that things are going to be better. They didn't have anything substantive to say how things are going to improve. Why? Because there's a big talk that Joe can't do anything after 4 o'clock. Right. Between 10 and 4 is the only time he can get work done. Well, he scheduled a debate. He got all his terms at 9 p.m. You saw him 5 hours into his sunset period. By the way, it brings you to a bit bigger story. Can you do the job between 10 and 4? That's a 24-hour job. Right. You notice how when he goes out to the G7, he goes overseas, guys, he needs a day off. Yeah. When he comes home, he needs a day off. Where's he going to go after tomorrow? He's going to have more days off at the beach in Delaware. He's telling you in so many words and his actions, he can't do the job.
Yeah. Well, do you remember a couple of election cycles ago when the question was, will this person be able to answer the phone call at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning?
3 a.m. phone call.
The answer, according to Joe Biden's staff, is absolutely not. Unless you get him after breakfast and before, happy hour, he's shot. Bill Ackman, who was not a Trump supporter but now is on the Trump train, he did support Joe Biden financially, but he wrote this yesterday on X, formerly Twitter. I no longer blame President Biden for not stepping aside. He no longer has the mental acuity to make important judgments about himself. It is becoming increasingly clear, however, that the fault lies with the First Lady, Jill Biden. And anger is growing at the First Lady because let's face it, she's with him everywhere. That's right. She knows when he goes, sleepy time. Yeah. She and White House aides have, and we're hearing more and more about this, have for the last 3.5 years essentially concealed the condition of the President of the United States, which makes you wonder, and we have said this for years, who is putting the stuff in the teleprompter? who is really the president of the United States? Because if she's calling the shots, I don't remember her name being on the ballot.
Yeah, well, this has been described as Joe Biden's "the emperor has no clothes" moment. They've been trying to hide him away for years. They've never made the White House physician available for questioning by the press corps. You, of course, have the Robert Hur report, which the White House and Department of Justice will not release the audio of that interview with President Biden on his classified documents case when he was not charged with a series of felonies they say he did commit because of his memory and his performance in that interview. And, of course, now going back to Jill Biden, First Lady, we have breaking news on the Vogue cover. She's on the August cover of Vogue, and they say that she will be the president's closest confidant and advocate going into November. So they were working on this story for a while, and they put an update at the top saying after the debate there's talk about whether he should continue, and she is going to keep pushing for him to continue this race.
It's amazing that she made it to the cover, and we have a former First Lady that was an actual model and couldn't manage to be on the cover. Joe Salazar, he's an elected DNC member from Colorado. This is what he said about the call, because they're gaslighting us all. He says, I was hoping for more of a substantive conversation instead of, hey, let's go out there and just be cheerleaders without actually addressing a very serious issue that unfolded on American televisions for 1 million people to see. There were a number of things that could have been said in addressing the situation, but we didn't get that, Brian. We were being gaslit, and we saw more of it yesterday all over the Sunday shows. Watch.
Do you think President Biden should drop out of this race, Senator?
Oh, absolutely not.
Joe Biden's decision to go forward is a decision that we will all embrace because of the record he has and the performance that will come with it.
And that whole abandoned Biden thing, that's the dumbest I've ever heard.
Joe Biden has earned and Joe Biden deserves the confidence, the respect, and frankly, the partnership that we now have to provide to him.
I've been a part of debate preparation before, and I know what when I see what I call preparation overload. And that's exactly what was going on the other night.
The only Democrat who's ever beaten Donald Trump is Joe Biden. He is our candidate for November, and he has the best shot to beat him.
All right, Brian.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's so interesting that Chris Coons says now he's the only one who can beat Donald Trump, and he's not wrong. It looks like Kamala Harris head-to-head loses by about 5 points, and all you have to do is look at Gavin Newsom's record. He's got 44% approval in California. So I don't know if he's going to bring that national. Governor Pritzker, is that going to be an option? It looks like the machine is with Joe Biden. Barring an episode, he's going to be the guy. And I also think it's important to point out that the one person who came out and said we're talking about all options was Jamie Raskin. He said, you know, we're sticking with Joe Biden, but we're having serious conversation behind the scenes.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.